All right. What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Bhangra podcast. Today we got another critique session going on. Saagar, why don't you introduce yourself, then Suvan right after.
What's up? I'm Saagar. I'm the resident old man that comes to every competition to drink.
Something about your background, who you are. Not everybody knows who the hell you are, dog. What teams have you danced on?
What if I liked it that I've danced for a bunch of teams throughout the circuit, but my main team was First Class Bhangra out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Was captain for 4 years, still helping set design and mix stuff. So kind of behind the scenes as I get older and older and my knees don't work.
Yeah, my name's Suvin. I'm the captain of Bull Bhangra. We just competed at Magic City Mazza and we competed at ATL Tamasha in the fall. We're a new coming team and just kind of looking for some guidance and how to progress best.
Oh yeah, dude. Where is Bull Bhangra from? Like
Tampa,
college?
Florida,
What's
USF.
Tampa? Okay. Okay. Didn't USF have some? Gator is Miami, right?
Gator is Gainesville. It's UF, and then University of Florida. We're University of South Florida.
Cool. Okay. Cool. Let me put it on the floor. All right. So for anybody who hasn't listened to the other one, slash if I post this one before the other one, the way this works, if you're a team, any team doesn't really matter. Want to get some critiques? It's usually me and then some other judge, so that we get some new thoughts and ideas. And the way this goes is just basically a hour-long critique session with whatever team he wants. If you want, and today Suvan asked us to just go over the set specifically, kind of focus more on the set. They're younger teams, so the lack of execution is pretty self-evident. But we're gonna go through the set, break it down, ask questions. He's gonna ask us questions, and we're gonna see what we can all learn from this whole process. So get started.
Well, so I guess the first thing prior to even getting kind of deeper into the set too is what did you want to show the audience, kind of big picture with your set? What did you want them to remember and take away from like a newer team's performance?
Yeah, so I mean, my thing this season was team identity, which we kind of tried to lean into like a more like we're fun. We're gonna have fun on stage. We're gonna show you that we're having fun, and we're just gonna have like fun moments and like things that are like not necessarily done by maybe like something that's not too cheesy, but something that's not too like folk in a sense. So I try to keep that middle ground. Our sub segment and intro was kind of us. I wanted to come out with like a very like we can do Pagada. Like that's we want to show you that we can do Pagada, and now let's put on a different type of show. So Subs was kind of different from that team identity, in my opinion. But specifically for our set, I was just trying to have fun with it and show everyone.
Nice, for sure. So I actually really liked your intro. I think if the thing is like when you watch the choreo for what it is without listening to the mix, the flow was super nice. Like you got through, it was short, it was simple, and it got the job done that you guys are here to like really accentuate and knock things out of the park. The thing is like with your mix, when you actually hit like the first chaw and then the floating baka right afterwards, there was no differentiation between how it started and the drop, if that makes sense. So
Hmm.
you kind of stayed like all the levels of the mix were super full and they stayed full, if that makes sense. So there wasn't that extra bit of like, let's pop, let's really bring it. And I think that
Yeah.
like if you look, you did a great job with Corey on the intro to set the tone, and the way that you can elevate it and really make it stand out is make sure the mix highlights that too. So maybe in like the build up, you can drop one or two levels and then bring back that full huge sound right at the drop to really accentuate the big moments that you want. And so that was where I thought that intro fell a little bit flatter for me, just because
Okay.
it didn't provide that secondary like bop, we're here to like fuck shit up essentially.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Honestly, like, and your execution through like intro and subs wasn't terrible. Like, you guys are a new team, obviously, and like, you guys are coming with a lot of energy out of the gate. It doesn't like no one person is more energetic than the other person. The only thing is like very visibly, if you're gonna highlight people for a drop, you have to make sure that they do the drop the same way. So if you watch when you start the
Yeah.
floating Batka, our Ferozy Jody and the green Jody in the front, who like our eyes are drawn to, our Ferozy Jody's legs are going a lot wider than the green Jody's legs, if that makes sense. So visually, right off the bat, that's like
Yeah.
one of those things. Yeah. So yeah, so in the floating Baka, you can like see as Umar kind of plays through it, the Ferozy Jody's legs obviously spread out a little bit more, whereas the green Jody is a little bit more narrow. And so like
Yeah.
aside from an execution point, that is also one of those moments that's like supposed to be memorable about your intro, right? So you want to make sure that across the board, if they're highlighted as a Jody, that should be like bang, they're together, they're doing it the right way. And honestly, like that's one of those moments that you just kind of keep running and running and running and running until it looks like the same across the board. Umar, do you have any thoughts about intro?
Yeah. So this is something that this is kind of my analogy I use for every set, and I will hammer this home until I'm dead. Um, Whenever you're thinking about any kind of set or any segment, the big thing is contrast. In order to make any moment pop, you have to have a change in some way between the moment you want to emphasize and the moment you don't want to emphasize. So, for example, you're going really, really fast, and the drop you go slow. Like that's the reason why child drops generally are really easy to like at least have a moment, because generally you're going from dancing relatively taller and like at a faster pace, and then you get low and it's also slower. So there is a clear indication, like, oh, there was a change. And but you can do that in a lot of different ways. You can go from having a lot of different formational movement to everybody doing the same formation at the same time and in place. You can go do levels where like everybody's dancing at the same level. Then the drop is some people are jumping and some people are doing back. Like those are ways to, or like speed up, slow down. Those are ways to like increase contrast. And
Yeah.
so one thing I will say, but at the same time, you have to pick those moments right, and and you also don't want to kill momentum. I think one moment where I felt like there's this moment right here. If you like, other than the fact that you went down and stopped, like it felt kind of random. There was no lead into the fact that you're about to do that, and so you just kind of went down. Like you're going at one pace, you stopped, and then you went back up to the exact same pace. And so
Okay.
the thing that like weirdly enough, like the way I was thinking about it, I was like, did you want me to pay attention to the time you went down, or did you want me to pay attention to the drop? Like that's what I was thinking. And so I think doing some kind of build up to kind of uh, tease the fact that's going on. Another thing that I say a lot is like tension and release. Like you need to create tension within the audience that like, hey, something's about to happen, something's about to happen, something's about to happen, something's about to happen. But the thing is, it just there was no
It just
like
happened.
teasing the. It just happened, and then it just happened, and like I was like, okay, I don't know. The other thing So think about that whenever you're making things. Like, what are some ways you can telegraph that I'm about to do something? Like Saagar said, you can do that through the mix. You can do that through like lowering the number of levels. Like, hey, wait, the mix just like changed all of a sudden. All like a bunch of sounds dropped out, and then you ratchet it back up with making bringing that full of sound. That's a fantastic way to telegraph. And honestly, a lot of telegraphing does come down to what mix and music selections you make.
Yeah.
The other thing I would like to bring up, I I feel like you wanted this to be a moment, but it wasn't. And I think it was here. I had no idea until like the third time I watched that like you did this.
Yeah.
Um, it was yeah, it was just too fast. Like it was too fast. Again, you didn't telegraph that you're about to do something, and so like I didn't know I was supposed to pay attention to that until like oh look at that bull. Okay, cool. Um, uh, I'm not really sure how you could make that different. Maybe you like bring the dancers together and like put the subs kind of closer together, so it's like oh hey, they're doing something. Yeah, that might have made it a little bit more like visible that like you did something. So yeah.
And sorry, going back to that, like the initial diagonal that you guys did where you kind of shinged down, I thought that was a really cool moment until you guys like stopped, right? So one of those ways to think about it, right, is like that's not like necessarily a new like formational idea or a new concept or layer, right? So think about how you can make that your own. So in a way, like if you think about it, it would have been one thing is just like just comes to the top of my head. Like if you do that shing and immediately reverse the shing back and then like it makes sense in my brain. I don't know how to like visually depict it, but as soon as you go shing, if you reverse the shing back before you like spin into Jadusinga, you could create a really, really dynamic moment where it's like, okay, it's different from what I would expect. And it just kind of adds another layer of like creativity. And I would say like your formations are pretty solid. You guys are moving around a lot. You're making new shapes. So I think you're doing a really good job with that. And think of formations as a way to like highlight what you're doing. So say you have like a simpler drop, right? So say you have a sub Jadusinga drop, which is pretty like standard kind of across the way. How do you make it unique, right? You can elevate it with your formations. And so I really liked what you guys did. I just think you could have made that build up a little bit more dynamic to kind of bring it up and be like, oh shit, this is a newer idea that we're bringing into just plain sub Jadusinga, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I
And I
get
also
that.
want to point out this formation is like technically very difficult to do. Like moving
Yeah.
Jadu Singhas while also moving in a shape that stays the same shape. That is like when I saw it, I was like I was impressed. I was like, damn, that's like I know I've tried to run that with FCB. Like that shit like takes time.
Yeah.
And especially with a bunch of younger dancers, Jadu
Um,
Singha is a very difficult move for younger dancers to do. So the fact that you
Excuse
pulled
me.
it off and
What's up?
understand what was going on, like kudos to you. That's very good.
Also, you guys did this. You guys did this variation like right after where you guys turn your subs backwards, where you go out, out, clap, clap, clap. I thought that was super unique. But again, like Umar was saying, it took me like two or three times to watch to realize that's what you did. And
Yeah.
so when you do like variations like that where you really want to highlight like we're being creative, we're doing our own thing, we're staying within what our avenue of creativity is, let it marinate with the audience, right? So in the blink of an eye that moment is gone, right? So like a way you can extend it is just repeat that process two times so that the audience can actually see what you're doing and it's not one of those moments where like so if I was watching this video or watching this live as a judge and I blinked, I could have missed what was like a pretty cool variation. So you always want to leave time for like your cool things to marinate, if that makes sense. Let it wash over the audience at least for like 4 to 8 count or like at least 8 counts so that we can see what you're doing and process it too. Because otherwise by the time we process it, we're already seeing the next steps, if that makes sense.
Okay. I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
Shoot, yeah,
So
no, go.
in terms of letting things like marinate, and like kind
Hmm.
of presenting things so that everyone can see it, do you think where we are on stage is an issue? Because a lot of the things that we talked about, it's not like right on the center or like right in front. But because I kind of struggle with filling the stage because we're kind of small, so and we're 12, so filling the stage is kind of difficult for us. So I end up having to put a lot of the stuff like either in the middle of stage or like side of stage, just so the stage looks more full. So is there a way to like highlight your moments without losing that like filling the stage formational aspect of it?
I don't think like I know a lot of people will get like very nitpicky about like no man you got to be like front 20 like front 25 or like front 0 like in terms of like make if you want to highlight a moment you got to like have it there. I don't necessarily think so. I think the big thing be a nerd here, design nerd here. So there's this thing, this concept called Gestalt principles, and what it tells you is like basically how to group things and like very deliberately keep things like if you want things to look group together, and things look different. I think this right here, for example, is perfectly fine. My attention is on the people that you
Yeah.
are deliberately pointing me to. You're filling up the stage fine. There's a decent gap in between like the outside and like the focus. And so I think this is perfectly fine. I think the big thing is just like whenever you do decide to highlight something, you need to make sure that it is very obvious from a judge's perspective. Is that what I want them to pay attention to? And again, best way you can do that, just like run it by somebody else, just like somebody who's like not explicitly dancing on your squad. Maybe you're like, and also it could be your mom, like, or like anybody who doesn't know how to do Bhangra, just like show it to somebody, like, hey, like, does this look distinct? Because if the rando person on the street can tell you, yeah, I can tell, like, I looked at that when you showed it to me, and then yeah, you did it. Like, that's exactly what you need.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like
Last thing I want to, oh, go ahead.
sorry, yeah, I feel like it doesn't really matter where you are on stage. Sure, like sure, if you have like really good dancers that execute the drop or the whatever you want the best, obviously put them in the front somewhere so that they're like the most visible to see. It doesn't really matter at which point of stage you are, as long as you give like the problem is I think a lot of people try to do a lot of variations in a really short amount of time. And like when you do that visually, there's so many things going on that as like a
Overwhelming.
judge, yeah, it's overwhelming, right? You can't process how creative each move is. So at that time, we talk about like how you frame something, right? So say you have a variation on Sapjadusinga that you want to like highlight, right? You want to bring what happens before it to be digestible, right? It doesn't have to be like
Yeah.
super wow out of your pocket. It just has to be enough to keep the audience watching and kind of building them into seeing, oh shit, this is what I want. This is what they're about to show us. This is what they want us to process, right? And then the afterwards too, right? You don't just throw like variation after variation after variation because then you kind of lose like the initial impact of your creative moment that you wanted to highlight. So you kind of like raise and lower the bars of like what you want to do, and it comes back to that same concept we talk about intro too, like with the mix. The same thing applies for choreography, right? You want, if you're going to have a really really complex drop, then you want to simplify kind of what's coming
Simplify.
before. Yeah, exactly, because that way that we know that creative moment is what they wanted to highlight and what they wanted us to really process and digest, if that makes sense.
No, I get that. It's really it's hard to do, I guess, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
sure.
and another thing I like to say is that you kind of want to pick seven, like realistically, like 7 to 10 moments throughout your entire set that you want somebody to remember. That equals to about 1 to 2 moments per
Per
segment.
segment.
Um, and so in my head, the places I think about placing moments I want people to remember is like right at the beginning of the transition, like right at the like beginning at the end of the transition, like transition to the next segment, like so the transition kind of like opening, the build up, the drop, and then the transition out. Like those are like 4 moments I'm always thinking about, like things to like timing to place things that I want people to remember about. An interesting formation during the transition, maybe a really simple build up, a drop, and then an interesting transition. Those are three moments that I picked in that segment that I wanted somebody to remember, but I pick one of them to like be like really stand out. That equals to about so. Another thing, Ram used to tell me. So he's one of the founders of FCB. He would always say, "You want to have you basically want to have something happen every 30 seconds, 30 to 45
Yeah.
seconds. If if you go 30 to 45 seconds and it just kind of like lull, then you lost the judge, and they're going to say like, hey, there was a lull in your things. Like this like they like when you have like one or two segments that don't hit back to back, that's easy. Just like impact set
Yeah.
it like goes down immediately. So think about that as well. And one way to do that really easy, cut stuff. Like if stuff isn't hitting, as long as you're hitting that dancer minimum, like just cut it. Like if it doesn't need to be there, cut it. Everybody's stamina is better. You're gonna dance, but like it's fine. So yeah.
Sorry. One
No,
last thing I
please,
want to
yeah.
point out here. If you're gonna stop the momentum of everybody else to highlight one thing, like a certain group of people, you have to make sure that what they're doing is like super, super cool. And that's like my personal opinion. Like I thought this was cute, right? It was cute, but it wasn't like something that I would have necessarily stopped everybody else on the side of stage. Does that make
Okay.
sense? Like
Yeah.
I get like the point of like highlighting them, but there should be something that the outside dancers are doing, like even if like they're just doing some inward motion to focus your like just to keep moving and not just stop the momentum, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It's like
So yeah.
sorry.
No, you're good. I want to hear it.
No, I was just saying like it's hard because like again also with this framing that you're doing, they're holding the sups in a way that we can't actually see them in this one
Yeah.
screenshot, right? So like obviously as they start turning you can see it, but it's like
Okay.
I feel like it wasn't a big enough moment to
Hmm.
pause everything and just stare at them, if that makes sense. I think that's one moment where you can
Okay.
think about what they're doing and see how you can elevate it to the next level.
Yeah, so
Y-
actually, Garden and I talked about this. I think I asked him if it was like, so instead of having them like this, could we have them like this so they could, because what's happening is they're switching subs. So in this way, the audience could see for all 8 beats that the sub is getting switched. Because instead of having a body cover it for more than all of the time, we talked about that. But I also get what you mean about the sides. But
an easy way you could do this is like, okay, hold on, let me back up real quick. Uh, so instead of going down, just have them like start out further, and then just like you can literally have them just like instead of doing like a this out, have them a little further out on stage, so you know they're a little bit like over here.
uh
You have them out, and then and then just like slowly have them come in, like and just maintain the spacing so that the highlight like it's like
it's
two
still
like
highlighted.
semicircles. So like two semicircles right here and right there. They're getting a little bit closer. They're drawing the eyes towards the thing at the thing in the center, and you don't have them like fully stop dancing.
I see. Yeah, okay. But just don't, like, instead of them doing nothing, like,
Because when you stop dancing, that's like something better be happening, or like
mhm,
I'm just like you took a break. Like
yeah,
that's the thing that goes through my head. It's like it's the end of a sub segment. You want to give them a breather before they go into the next thing.
yeah.
All right,
I promise that's not what I was trying to do.
it's all good.
Don't worry,
But all right,
we love
I'm
breaks.
same. Yes, we do. All right, I'm gonna. This is a thing that I just like. I really think this is everybody should be stealing from the UK is just like put a lot of thought into your transitions. I think transitions are a really easy way, like easy places, because nobody else puts thought in the transition. You put like I'm not even saying like do something nutso. I'm just saying like put like just like do something some interesting handoff as you're passing it off. Like immediately I'm going to remember that because like oh yeah they're the only team that did something cool during the transition. That's an easy point way to distinguish yourself from the rest of the competition. That's just like a thing I have, but yeah.
Okay, wait, can I,
Yeah.
so with this, because I agree with the whole like
Yeah.
transition thing. That's why I had these four like come off and then come up while we're exiting, so that the audience is never just looking at everyone dropping off subs. So are you saying like maybe more could have been done?
Just more, yeah. I mean, like I appreciate what you did because yes, there wasn't a point where like nobody's on stage.
Mm.
But I think I don't know, like do like a like instead of just having them go across and drop off, like maybe have them like circle around and then drop off, or like
Oh,
like maybe
okay,
you have
yeah.
two lines here, so like maybe do some like interesting, like they like this line comes in, this line comes in, they go back and then across, just like some movement while these guys are putting their subs down, so that yeah,
Okay, yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, just brainstorming.
Hmm. Cool. Also, I'm gonna be selling stickers soon. If you want one, yeah, you should buy some.
For like bottles?
I don't know, man. I'm just gonna make stickers.
That'll be
Like I'm.
sick.
It could be for. I have one on my laptop. I just don't want to pick it
Laptop.
up right now. But
Yeah.
yeah, stickers. Have fun. Okay. Any thoughts,
Um,
Suck?
yeah. So there's this concept when you're making a set about like when you get into a certain rhythm, you start seeing the same elements over and over again. And so one of the things that's like in your first three segments is that you've highlighted a single or a double Jody in every single one of your segments since you started, right? So you had
Yeah.
the intro, Batka, you had the sup stuff, and now you have Frozy in the front, right? So like as I keep seeing those repeated things, it loses its novelty and it's like its initial hit, if that makes sense, right? Because every time I see it, it makes the other one look okay. They're doing it again. They're doing it again. They're doing it again. If that makes sense. I want to say I fucking love this song. I think this was a banger song choice. And like from a personal standpoint, and like this can stay in this recording or not, but like think about like the steps that you're also putting in and when the last time teams have done things like this. So like you have the whole hip pulling mechanism going on, and DJ just did that
I
at
know,
Alamo.
dude. Yeah, I saw it after I made it, and I was like, oh,
No, you're good, but it's like it's just like not all judges watch Bhangra videos
yeah,
ever,
As
right? So like
religiously as we do, but yeah.
yeah, so like not everyone's gonna be able to pick stuff out like that. Not everyone's gonna say anything about it, but just like that's just something to keep in mind in the back while you're making your own sets. I think it's personally super great to always be knowledgeable about what has happened in the circuit, what people have done. When you're taking inspiration from like any step, any set, whatever, just keep in mind that like people are judging that have been on those teams too. So like it'll immediately trigger a reaction in them. So it's
yeah,
always good to like be up to date on Bhangra segments or like Bhangra that has been done recently too, just because it has.
Especially like look up your judges. Who did they dance for?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it is always funny because the thing is, I know I keep referencing Golden on this fucking podcast. I'm sorry. I've like like he like taught. He's like one of the people who like taught me how to judge. But Gonto's been around forever. He also judges a few like bigger competitions, and so like he will call you out on stuff you didn't even know you took from 2009.
mm,
So just like keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Like if your judge is like older, um, I'm not saying go watch every single set since 2009, but at least watch their like go watch all KPGD set because I know he's like memorized all those, and so make sure
yeah,
you like even if you think you didn't, even though you probably didn't like literally take it from their set, if they did it once before, make sure you didn't accidentally take it. So just some good like practice.
yeah. When you told me Saagar was on the call, I was like, oh, we're cooked.
No, see, I like seeing it, right? It means like things are fun. I like watching fun stuff, and I think this segment does a really good job of showing what you're trying to give to the crowd, what you're trying to tell the crowd about both Bhangra and what you guys stand for and what you guys want in your set design. The one thing for kind of this segment is I know it's supposed to be cutesy,
Mhm.
but the drop was really flat for me.
Okay.
There was nothing that really was like, okay, this is super dope. Like even within the realm of like a quote unquote softer segment coming out of subs, this is still like the drop didn't really do anything for me.
Okay.
And that might be like a personal thing, but always make sure that like there's something that's like that gives it a little bit of backbone, you know? I don't know if that makes sense, but
I think one way you could easily make that drop hit harder. So one, I recommend everybody in the Bhangra circuit watch hip hop videos. Go watch Vibe. Go watch all those like performances. You get so many ideas. One thing I noticed that anytime a team like comes together and does some quick like something really slick, really tiny, they clump up together. I think again, like you were talking about, like you like for its entire performance, you're like taking the entire stage. If you got together and like shoulder to shoulder, pretty much, and like like right next to each other and did this, like I think it would hit harder because like everybody's focused
Focus. Yeah.
on this tiny clump, and so if you do something tiny, you're gonna notice it because right now you're too spread apart and it looks really the movement looks really small because everybody's so spread apart.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, also
Um,
real quick,
yeah.
my with the whole like highlighting Jordy's thing, with this segment, actually I took inspiration from you guys at Berg last year, your Chaw segment. I think like every 8 beats there was like a new Jordy coming up. So we tried to kind of do that here with like green Jordy, now frozy, now blue, now red. Like we tried to kind of do that. That was kind of my vision with this specific segment. But then, yeah, now that you say it, I realize I also did it in subs too, and I'm gonna do it in the mall, and I'm gonna do it in Jomur. So I guess I just did it too much, but I get it.
Oh, one like fun idea like that I was thinking about. So if you listen to the mix here, uh, you have this like, and you're literally almost playing patty cake, dude. Like it's right there, just to be like, like it's just like if you're having some fun with it, just like do something stupid like that. It'll make at least half the judges like giggle, and like
Okay.
a giggle is good. Especially this is exactly one of those things I was talking about, like a transition. Like it's just a little something that like can like it's like oh that was like Sid has this like phrase. He's like golf claps versus like gut punches. So it's like, for example, if you want the drop to hit, but you want other stuff to be memorable, golf claps. Like, oh yeah. Like that, like a Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's just like on the couch, just like right, yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
see
it.
that. Like, yeah, like that. Like transitions are great moments for that, where it's like, oh, that was cute, that was nice, that was slick. And then you want like a gut punch, where it's like, oh shit, fuck, that's crazy. So yeah,
Yeah.
but like that was right there for me. Um, anything else from this segment that I really wanted to call out?
also while Umer's
That
thinking about that,
yeah,
take everything that we're saying with a grain of salt. Obviously, like Umer and I were built in like the same kind of environment of how we look at set design and stuff too. So obviously, like things that we say are going to be part of our personal background with how we think about things and how we look at things. So take everything with a grain of salt. We are not like end all be all. This is how it should be done, etc. Keep your identity and what you want out of this, and like just use the parts that you find are very helpful. If that makes sense. I just want to put that
Yeah.
disclaimer to any teams, any people listening to this, that we are
yeah,
not trying to be end all be alls. We're just these are just opinions.
yeah. I like this little dick formation you have going on here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. I have nothing else to say. You want to add anything before we move on?
No, we can move.
Cool.
Yeah.
I actually really, really liked how you
Yeah.
moved your circle. I thought that was a really, really cool way to open up your Thamal segment and like just create movement while doing simple steps. I thought that was a really, really good use of stage space, really good use of like your formations in general. I think like that's a new way to move a circle that not a lot of people do. Um, I felt like again, it's just like one of those things where it's a semi-repeated element where you again kind of went left to right down a diagonal. So it played a role again here.
Mm,
So then I'm thinking back to the first time that you did it in subs, and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
they could have done something. I like this. This is also, I believe, the second time that you're doing Baby. Also,
Hmm.
again, this super nitpicky stuff, but like these are things to think about when you're constructing the overall picture of your set. Like, don't keep using the same steps over and over again. It just like it feels like you're just throwing them in there to be there, if that makes sense. And there's
Hmm.
ways to get through all segments without repeating steps. You just have to like
Yeah.
it just takes a little bit of time to kind of think through it. Um, Other than that, I thought this was a fine segment. There wasn't really anything that like I felt was super super impactful. Like
Yeah, I
on the
agree.
first and second watch, I think this might have been like kind of the point where things may have gotten a little bit softer
That's right. Yeah.
in kind of watching wise. But it wasn't like there was nothing that stood out that was like, oh, this is really bad, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
this
I
is
agree.
probably
I
one.
think. Mhm.
Sorry, this is probably one that you can go back to like the drawing board with to kind of see,
Yeah.
what are the moments in this segment that I want everyone to pay attention to that I think are really nifty, really cool, really represent us. How do we make those moments stand out? And I think you can walk away with a completely different segment without like
Damn, his Wi-Fi sucks.
mine or your Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Anywho,
you cut out. Yeah, go ahead.
um, but yeah, like I was saying, like this is one of those things where you can cut certain things that you're doing because I feel like this segment was also like long for it how like for the amount of things that weren't happening, if that makes sense. So like
Hmm.
really focus on bringing the moments you want to highlight up here, and like I can't like give you I'm not in your mindset of
Right.
creating sets, so I don't want things to like stand out in different ways. But I want you to really look at this segment and be like, okay, where's the first moment that we want to remember? Where's the second moment we want to remember? Where's the third if you guys want to have a third, right? And kind of work through that of like, let's revamp this segment. Because comparatively to the other segments that have gone on so far, this is the one that's like, okay, they did it the mall segment, right? And you never want a segment to feel like someone's just
Yeah.
checking off a box on a rubric.
I think this was our
So
least
yeah, go ahead.
impactful segment. I'm definitely gonna readjust this because even when I watched it, I was like, oh, we just like danced for 30 seconds and nothing really happened.
Which is honestly,
So
that's
yeah,
a really good process to have. Like the idea that you can watch back your segment and be like, oh, this I see it. Like I see that this was the least impactful one is a really important eye to have because like a lot of the times I feel like teams will get told that a segment isn't impactful and they'll be like, no, we love it so much. We know it's really good. And they'll keep doing the same thing and then, it's insanity. You do the same thing expecting different results.
one thing is like I actually I feel like there's a lot of untapped potential in this like opening thing that you have going on. So you come in, you do this thing. I like how you made the circle, like Sog said. I didn't catch this here because it's only like I didn't see the back person do it. I think if you did this thing where like you go down and go up, just do it with the front half of the circle and the back half stays standing. Okay, you do this thing. Then it's like oh the little that's when I noticed that it happened, and then you do it again with everybody. Heike, if you think if you did it one more time, but you did it like like these three and these three like go
Okay.
down and
Right.
and then the other half like you can make little tiny shapes with this circle, like think of fun shapes, like don't just do like the center and the outside, everybody knows, or like the front and the back, everybody knows that, but like if you did like I don't know, like these two the center and these two, but then these two and these two are staying standing. That's interesting as well. Oh, it's a dynamic shape I don't normally see, but it's a kind of like a diagonal that you got going on. Like there's different shapes you can do. Do it one more time, maybe, just to sell the idea that it happened. But that would have been nifty. That would have been like, oh shit, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. Yeah, this right here. So to go off the comment that Sag made about doing Beatty or like doing too many motions, you can sometimes I like to translate what judges say, where they're like, oh yeah, like sometimes you like it felt a little stale. One of like unfortunately judges meetings are like 5 minutes long, and each judge maybe has a minute to say things. So you have to like really decode what they're saying. And so somebody says like, oh yo man, like segment felt kind of stale. That could often just mean like they saw the same move a few times, and it's just like it wasn't dynamic in that sense. And so that's one way where like if a judge says like, hey, like listen man, like the some of the segments felt kind of stale, that might be that might be what they actually meant.
Also, going off that point too, like you can differentiate the type of baby that you're doing. Sorry, my camera's off. I
Yeah.
keep doing things in the back, right? So like in this moment where this line is completely here, like I get in the last segment, it was more of like a chill version, but here in the mall, you're showing off like essentially how strong you guys are, right? So you want to sit into that and like bang the
Yeah.
fuck out of those baby, if that makes sense, right? And
Mhm.
that's a small thing that makes that moment there a little bit more impactful and makes it stand out from the baby that you were doing in the last segment. But because here we're kind of like we're soft clapping a little bit and we're kind of just going through the motions, like we're not staying wide. It kind of just looks the same, right? So like that's
Yeah.
another way you can elevate too.
Yeah, that's what we were trying to do. That's why we have like Locate here also, just to kind of like sell
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like the I'm hitting this shit. Like, but
Yeah,
it didn't pan out. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
good.
Also, I'm a sucker for Raph, so I was loved
Yeah,
that part, brother.
absolutely. Cool. Yo, high key, when the first time I saw this and the purple guys went down to pick up the little hearts, I thought they fucked up.
They did.
Okay. All right. So, okay, never mind. In that case, forget what I said.
Yeah.
I thought they like fell or something and they tripped each other, so they all fell. I was like, what just happened? But okay.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
No
purple
worries.
guys. I didn't mean to call y'all like that.
But that
It's
I mean
okay.
that
I did
brings up
for you.
that brings up a really important point. Like if you're gonna have a moment in time where you're gonna pick up something, kind of add another layer to your performance, like I know shit happens, but like
I know. Yeah.
you just got to make sure that your dancers are prepared for shit happening. Like thinking about like worst case scenario, we've always been. I'm the idiot that doesn't listen to the plans we have in place when shit happens. Like we've had Funland fall off, we've had Ramals, like things fly everywhere, and I'm the one to stop and pick it up and try to get it off stage. And like unless you can do it really smoothly, just
Yeah.
keep going. Just leave that prop where it is. Like we're getting the point here, right? Because at least one person has it. We feel it. The one thing I want to emphasize though is like Jomur is the place where you guys are supposed to make the audience like just completely fall in love with you. This is your moment to swag out, to really bring life to what you're doing. And like the at this point, like when we start in the beginning, Red's in front, right? I can tell that you like that the Red Jody is having the time of their lives. They're ready to kill Chumar. So I know that they're bringing that level. So I'm looking back, especially as we're in a straight line here. I'm looking back at the girls. I'm looking back at Purple Jody in the back, and I want to feel that same expression from front to back of stage. I want to feel that joy to be doing Bhangra, all of that stuff. And this is like Jomur is arguably the one segment where you can really bring the most amount of that like love for Bhangra, that love for dancing, and show it to the audience. And that's one of those moments that like you could do the simplest of Jomur moves, but if I'm watching the team like just be completely in love with the art form they're bringing to life, it just elevates it even if you're doing simple stuff. So like just keep that in mind too. That's like the nakra part, the Josh part that can also take your set to the next level and not feel just like, okay, this is just another run of the mill Jumar segment, if that makes sense.
Hmm. No, I get that.
I think I know you guys are trying to be cutesy or like try to bring something that's not folk. I will say I have seen this heart thing in some way, shape, or form every year for the past 10 years. I don't think it accomplished what you wanted to accomplish. It's a rose, it's a heart, it's a chikta, it's a little note. Like people have done like little things where they're like, oh, look at me. Oh, like I've seen that a lot. And so if you're gonna do that, like you got to do something different.
Okay, yeah.
That's just like what I would say.
So like I know, yeah. Actually, the DCBC judge said the same thing. It's just we just did it because of the lyrics. Do you think we could maybe keep the like the heart of it, but like maybe make something else, make it not as like cookie cutter. I don't really know how yet, but I'm kind of I want to keep the idea of the heart thing without making it so generic.
Yeah, no, okay. A good example of a co-ed team that did cutesy shit that didn't like make me want to vom because I've seen it a bajillion times was Alamo at Berg 20.
Two.
Whatever the last one that Ample danced with Alamo at,
Yeah.
like that one where
Yeah,
Ricky,
that one.
it's with Ricky and Ample. Like, yeah, that shit that shit looked good because it was like it embodied the same vibe. It was like, oh, the guy likes the girl likes the guy, but she's like ill at the beginning, and then the guy, and then she's like, nah, never mind, I like you. But they did it really well. I really, really liked it. Because it was different. It was like a new take on it. If you can, I don't want to like pull it up right now because
No, I know what
got
you're
the
talking
streams.
about.
I got the stream set up, and like as soon as I move things break. But watch that performance, watch that drummer. I was like, this is shit. This is the shit. Like this is really good. So try to, dude. Don't nobody clip that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that like it's a good try to embody that. I think you can do something cooler and more novel. And okay, I understand that the song says it, so you want to do it. Do you know how many fucking love songs there are in Punjabi? Like, there's a bajillion. Like, I understand that you want to like follow this, do something. Like, if you can think of a different way to like do that, you don't need to do the lyrics. Jomur is the one time people decide to like listen to the lyrics, but like they all end with the like "I love you," or actually "You broke my heart," or like I'm gonna go drive in my truck and like yell from the top of my lungs. Like that. That's like what a lot of these are. So, that's one. What was I don't even remember the other thing. Yeah, no, I think that's the big thing. The other thing I want to say is Jomur is also the segment that you can, like you said, you wanted to like flex your creative muscles and like do something that's not quite folk. Jomur is the best segment to do that. Like, arguably, you can make a pretty decent argument that Farishta's Jomur at Bruin when they won wasn't Jomur.
Yeah.
It was like I don't really care about that argument. I think it's just nuance, like it's just like semantics, whatever. It was slow, I don't care. But like there were very few like actual like Jomur steps. It was like but it hit, it smacked, so I didn't really care.
Yeah.
So that's just like you can do really interesting things in Jomur because it's just, I don't know, the circuit kind of like allows it. So you don't need to just do this. I think you can really flex it.
Yeah. So no, okay, I get you. Yeah.
Cool. All right, we can keep moving forward then.
Oh, also real quick.
The Lundy fucking variation that you guys do out was fucking filthy. That was the moment that I wanted to see again.
Kind of made me mad because it's like a good idea, and I don't know if I have time to do it.
I am a huge proponent of crime. Theft is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm giving out so many ideas during this. We should keep this for FCB.